We always preferred an ignorant bad man to a talented one, and hence attempts were usually made to ruin the moral character of a smart candidate, since unhappily smartness and wickedness were supposed to be generally coupled, as was also incompetence and goodness. Said Baynard Hall, an American academic and Christian minister, in 1843 in his book The New Purchase, or 7.5 Years in the Far West. You probably clicked on this video in hopes of answering the question in the title. Well, the philosophers didn't go anywhere. You can Google a list of philosophers of this century and go read up on their own works. But, haha, you silly goofy viewer, you meant the real philosophers. You know, the likes of all the Guberinos from ancient Greece or the Renaissance. Why don't we hear that much about them today? This quote might have some answers. You might have recognized the mood around the study of human sciences. Majors in applicable sciences or engineering are expected to be more successful in finding a stable job than those in philosophy, liberal arts, or history. So with this insane quote, we are not only talking about philosophers, but any individual interacting with human sciences or culture that has been deemed unnecessary or redundant. Why do we learn about the enlightened thinkers of the 17th century, the beautiful works of the Renaissance authors, and the fundamental contributions of the ancient philosophers, but have to look in our own time for the ones coming from the present? Why is there ignorance or sometimes even downright hatred towards intellectuals now? The quote in its most basic form is a statement of anti-intellectualism, a hostility and the act of vilifying education, philosophy and/or art in effort to prove it being impractical or ineffective in terms of human pursuits. I found this quote on the wiki page of Anti-intellectualism itself. This wonderful, blissfully ignorant man gave just enough context for us to fit our question on the timeline of history. He also wrote this little piece of work, and I mean, come on. Necessary for the duties of middle life and the comfort of old age goes hard as fuck. Anti-intellectualism has been here for a while and it has taken a lot of different shapes and sizes. You yourself can test if you've been under influence of this, like by asking yourself what even is the point of philosophers in the 21st century. A simple question at a glance, but looking at the unemployment numbers of philosophy majors, it at least makes it less clear. The only philosopher of this century I knew about without searching it up was the Slovenian philosopher Slavoj Žižek. Mainly because the guy is an absolute meme machine.
I'm becoming more and more misanthropic.
And there's people that would argue that calling him a philosopher is a stretch, but oh well, I can't proclaim what my own channel is about anyway, even though his work and controversies contribute heavily towards what a modern philosopher is. With today's focus on effectiveness and optimized profit, the goal and ambition of philosophy is obscured, not generating revenue, not providing a product. Erasmus Darwin, the grandfather of Charles Darwin, was a physiologist, natural philosopher, poet, and an inventor. Benjamin Franklin, being one of the founding fathers of the United States himself, investigated the motions of electrical currents while flying a kite. No philosopher settled with one respective science, and it is the reality with our dear Slavoj. With him being an author, a professor at the European Graduate School, and a film critic.
More than half of the movies that I've written about, I haven't seen them.
Reality now being that calling yourself a philosopher, as in that is your profession, is abnormal. It isn't a person getting a law degree to become a lawyer. It isn't a person getting a degree in his field of medicine to become a doctor. A philosopher no longer holds any serious position of prestige in terms of material things like high income or social status, with exceptions of course. That's where all the philosophers went, shoved to the side of modern economy, reason being its own redundancy. Wait, I know this meme. This is anti-intellectualism. This is Hall saying, why the hell do I need an avocado toast eating Gen Z philosophy major to help me if there's just a dude somewhere that can help me too? So, is there any point in taking this seriously? Quote, what I fear is a government of experts. God forbid that in a democratic country, we should resign the task and give the government over to experts. End quote. Technocracy is a government system under the control of an elite of technical experts. Not an absolutely terrible idea on paper, but the very concept of people having control over their governments is removed. You can make this better by giving the option of picking out what specific expert from the list of candidates sounds the best for your interests, but that still forbids the everyday Joe from entering the elections himself, thus making it undemocratic. A strong democratic nation doesn't have a need for a person with the correct education. It actually calls for a person with a strong sense of what the people of the nation need. A self-made man. A flawed logic, in my opinion, since you can be a self-made person with the qualities and skills to run for a spot in the government But the second you show up at the university campus, go back to reading books, you goofus. You've experienced this yourself with the whole shebang around the COVID vaccines. With experts giving their qualified thoughts and opinions, correct or incorrect, on what the next precautions should be considering the safety of their respective nation's citizens. And politicians either giving that a green light or absolutely laughing their ass off at the thought that the spiky little friend could present any real threat to the economy. Okay, so you don't want intellectuals snooping around your government institutions. What about their contributions to our society as a whole? Is that not the whole point of science? Doubt is Our Product was a memo in 1969 concerning the Brown and Williamson Tobacco Corporation. They stated that smoking, now being scientifically proven as seriously harmful for the health of basically everyone, didn't necessarily have to damage their profits. They conducted a strategy of hiring mercenary scientists that would doubt and try to disprove any and all research that would prove to be harmful for their reputation and sales. Forever from that point, making the word of scientists something that could be easily bought off as a pack of ciggies, engraving the thought in the minds of everyone that the word of experts is more of a suggestion rather than a direct fact, as they held no actual authority over anyone. The last point of anti-intellectualism stems from a more fundamental reason. Society works in groups. This is a deeply rooted aspect of human behavior. We like to separate our demographics based on age, sex, nationality, race, income, the last of which is the crucial factor that decides which class you are in: lower, middle, goofus, or upper. Notice how we don't separate ourselves based on traits like intellect or objective aesthetic looks. That works differently. Your education may have an effect on your income, and vice versa, which in turn gives you your respective class. So there's now a correlation between you being highly educated and residing in the upper classes, which doesn't really work that way, at least not always. You can be a broke college student with no hope of getting a job in your field, or go full on rags to riches with no education but a really good idea and a business plan. Make videos, put memes in it, I don't know. The philosophers didn't go anywhere, as I said in the beginning. They are still among us, fulfilling the sacred duty of reviewing and dissecting the fundamental aspects of reason and existence. The fact that the currently youngest generation is not being taught about these people is a matter of a failed education system, rather than the actual relationship of society with human sciences. Philosophy as a major absolutely has a value for today's market, same as a plumber, a teacher, or an artist. I initially started researching this video with a hypothesis that we are simply living in an era for which there is no use of a philosopher, as in the post-World War II Europe. With everything being destroyed and with the need to rebuild the foundations of society and the actual buildings that have been bombarded, you need a bricklayer, a doctor, and a plumber, goddammit! Well, then I realized that this little guy proved me completely wrong, with some of his works being released in the years of 1938, 1942, or even 1956. And still remaining very relevant to this day. These might be some strange times we live in, where the fast-paced environment makes us believe that the times were much different from today. Well, yes, but that doesn't change the fact that some people still agree with our dear Mr. Hall. The idea that the philosopher has no value for society has been here in the 18th century and still is today. Let's leave it to the philosophers to figure out whether that is true. Thanks for watching. By the way, I just have to put this little rant in here. The source of the first quote leads me to the Richard Hofstadter's book, Anti-intellectualism in American Life, which quotes another book, the actual source of the stupid idiot quote of the guy, on page 170. Google that, look at the page 170, nowhere to be found. Huh? Okay, 1843 and 1916 Princeton edition. Find the same year, nowhere to be found now! Oh, it says volume 2. Maybe they're referencing volume 1. The whole edition costs $30 on eBay. Find a free version in the Library of Congress, wait for it to load 7 business days, page 170. Nothing! Accidentally scroll to lower pages where the actual original quote can be found. Fix this, man, hello?